What is going on, guys? Joey here with Flex Training Systems, and I actually have three video topics on my mind. I wasn't really sure what order to do them, so I'm just gonna start with this one. Today we're gonna talk about pressure and nerves. I'm gonna speak on them in a kind of a general sense, in an experience that I went through recently. It's kind of a trivial experience, but to me it was significant, and it really made me think about, I mean, I relate everything to powerlifting and how I can give you guys something tangible to walk away with, something that you can apply to yourself, something that you can use to make yourself, just a better lifter overall. Um, I think that there are many different facets to being a good lifter, being a good coach, just how you go about dealing with training and adapting to different things that come in front of you. It goes far beyond what is on paper. And it's a true, there's psychological aspects to it and all kinds of things. So, well, I'm going to help you with that. I thought about this video. I even explained what I was going to talk about to my brother. It's like good to kind of, whenever I'm going to make a video and I need to sort of sort through the thoughts, you want to tell it to someone or just say it to yourself or something, just to kind of compartmentalize like certain things that you want to say. And yeah, so like I told him, and at the end of it, I kept asking myself, what can I give the listener? I need to give the listener something to walk away with so that they can use it. It may not, I don't know if it's the best advice, but it's advice that helped me. But anyway, let's get into it. So, we're gonna start at the end, then we're gonna go to the beginning, and then back to the end. So, I try to relate. We're talking about pressure and nerves. How does that? Where do we run into pressure and nerves in powerlifting? Meet day for sure, especially with newer lifters. 100% you're going to run into nerves on meet day. It's kind of unavoidable. That last deadlift, that first squat, going for a big PR basically on any lift. If you haven't played sports prior, then, something about competing in powerlifting, you're just going to get nerves. The first time I competed, I had nerves. In training, whenever you load the bar with a weight that you've never lifted before, that you're really, really, really excited to get, and like, you want this so bad, and it's right in front of you, and you feel that your training has led you to this point where you can actually do it now. And you load the bar, and you see all the weights up there, and you just think to yourself, like, I really want this. This is something I've been working for a long time, right? And a lot of times those nerves can break you. You get too nervous, you forget your cues, you let your nerves overwhelm the habits that you've been trying to build, and you end up making mistakes. You jump the pause, you don't listen to the commands, just like little things like that. And it sucks when that happens because you put in all this time and effort to get to the meet, right? Literally months of prep. You finally get to the meet, and then you screw it up. And regardless of whether you're strong enough to lift it or not, us powerlifters, we kind of really say, meet days where it counts. You got to get it done on the platform. That's where you can actually compare it to others. That kind of shows you walk to walk and you talk to talk, right? You went through the trials and tribulations to get to meet day, and you got it done. Maybe you're competing and you have a competitor there, and you're really nervous about losing to them, or you feel a lot of pressure. Me as a coach, when I call a heavy third attempt that I'm confident that the lifter can do, all I can do at that point is sort of trust them, and depending on who it is, I may be more nervous or I may be less nervous. All I can do is like, hey, I know they can do this. It's gonna be heavy. They need to execute now. So that's kind of where I can run into some of that. But basically, I'm just gonna kind of break it down. I'm gonna talk about video games because this achievement that I was able to achieve is extremely rare, and it made me extremely nervous. And it was the first time, and I don't even remember how long. I don't even think I was this nervous when I was at Worlds with Russ, and I knew we were gonna win. It was like happy nerves. Like I knew we were gonna win. I knew we could win, and I was like, my brain was thinking about the end result, but I was like, okay, we need to execute first. Same thing with, any of my lifters. When I know we can win a big meet, I'm very anxious to like win, but we need to focus on what's in front of us, one thing at a time. So anyway, Just to give you guys some backstory, there's a game I play called Destiny 2, right? And there's a lot of different ways to play the game, and when you get to like end game, there's some like really, really, really hard achievements they have, incredibly hard achievements, and they release this new activity. It's a dungeon. It's like a 3-man activity, and it's the vibe of it, the sort of music, the atmosphere. I fucking love being in there. I love going to this. It's like this place, and just experiencing it, and it really just it feels great to be there. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like it's a fun series of encounters that's very challenging. And one of the hardest achievements in the game that you can get right now is to do the entire thing without dying flawlessly, right? So it's literally 1 to 2 hour process. If you do it in 1 hour, you're a beast. But it's 1 to 2 hour process, and you cannot die doing it. And the global rarity of this achievement it's called the Triumph, is 0.0035%. That is an incredibly low number. I think I did the math. It was out of 2 or 4 million concurrent players or something. It's like 13,000 out of that. It's an unbelievably small number. For perspective, being a national champion is more common in powerlifting than by leaps and bounds than achieving this, right? By literally in the history of powerlifting, it'll probably never be as rare as that. It's an arbitrary thing though. I wouldn't say it's as life-changing because the more people that get into something, I mean, there can only be one national champion annually. You know what I mean? This thing, anybody could do it at any time. You just got to put in the time and effort, to do it. So it's like hard to compare those things. But I'm just saying it's a very rare achievement, and I wanted it. The fact that it was something that was rare and sought after that people couldn't achieve, even though they were trying to do it, that made me want it even more. It's sort of like going for a record in a meet. A lot of people want to go for that record, right? Tons of people want that record, but they're not going to be able to get that record. You need to work really, really, really hard, and only one person, very few people are ever going to hold open national records in their lifetime. Like in the history of lifting, per weight class, it's going to be very, very minimal people that are going to get to do that, but everybody wants that thing, right? So as we go along through this story, I will always continue to relate it to powerlifting. And where the nerves kicked in were in there's like 5 encounters, right? There's 3 main ones and then 2 little transitional areas that are somewhat tedious but not primarily difficult. You just need to be careful. And the first encounter, there's not really nerves because there's very minimal investment. You initiate the encounter, you go to the first boss. There's a sequence of things that you have to do, but if you lose, it's not a big deal. You just start over. You might be losing 20, 30 minutes every time you fuck up, but it's not that big a deal, right? It doesn't take you a lot of time to get there, and I think the more investment you put into something, hence a meet, hence you've been prepping for a year, 6 months to compete against someone, whatever, which will relate into my next video, which is going to talk about this coronavirus situation and competing. I'm actually going to record it right after this one because the thought is very fresh in my head. I'll probably post it in a couple days, but the amount of investment that goes into something, it's like you're sort of betting that thing against your performance, right? So, as I'm progressing through this dungeon by myself, without dying, the farther you get, the more pressure starts to build up because I had to invest time and effort in order to get to that point. So if I invest an hour to get to the final encounter, I'm betting that hour on my success, meaning if I fail, I just wasted a fucking hour. Although I am gaining knowledge every single time, and that is something that you powerlifters need to understand. When you make a mistake, sometimes those mistakes are necessary in order to put yourself in a mental position to learn and improve on your lifting. If you don't go to the meet and screw up, or hopefully you have some sort of guidance and you don't need to screw up, but maybe you mess up in training, and maybe that mess up in training can simply be you're squatting high in training and your coach points it out to you, right? And that is like practice. Think of it like practice. It's okay to mess up in practice because there's nothing on the line. You're just practicing. So going back to the dungeon, what I'm talking about is, so the more time that I would put in, I would start to get I would start to feel pressured, and these are involuntary feelings. I can't do anything about them. They just happen. I don't know why I'm like that. I'm just passionate, right? Like I don't know how to describe it. You know, some things might not be a big deal to others, but to me, it's like, you know, I get very excited about things. I'm very animated. I have a lot of, you know, passion and emotion when it comes to anything. Anything, you know, if I watch a show and I think it's great, I'm gonna be very passionate about it. Some people might watch a show and be like, "Yeah, it was dope," and that was it, right? Maybe they just, you know, they're not exploring the thoughts or what went into it. But anyway, so I'm investing this time, and you know, let's say I got up to the third or fourth encounter and I died. I would be pissed. I'd be gutted because I invested all the time to get up there. But I am learning knowledge, and then eventually the first couple encounters that became clockwork for me. I just became so good at them, and I reached a level. I reached a level of understanding and depth in this game that I never had before. I literally did not even know the things that I know now, you know, because everything needs to be so perfectly optimized. And I think what also meant a lot is like to even attempt this achievement, I had to spend like 6 weeks getting all the materials and building my guy up, and you know, min-maxing his armor, doing all these things to get in a position to even attempt to try this super ridiculously hard activity. So it was like such a rewarding thing when you put in all that time and effort. I know, whether it's a video game or training or whatever, and then you get the payoff at the end. But anyway, I put in all this time and effort, and then I would get up to the final room, right? The final room, you know, all of these dungeons, they have mechanics. They're somewhat complicated. There's many things that mentally you need to keep in mind of, and certain things trigger certain things from happening. It's a massive form of mental stimulation for me, and that's something I've um, always been attracted to about gaming. Is like, not only are you just shooting things, but you need to keep track of how many things did you shoot, what are you shooting, what are the consequences of you shooting that thing, what will happen to the, you know, to the area that you're in, what, you know, are you going to spawn new enemies if you kill certain ones. There's so many things that go into it, and I love that. I love challenging myself. I love having to deal with there was a new encounter that we just did recently with the group of 6 guys, and that encounter, this is a different activity, but it was like people hate it because you need to, there's like 5 timers in your brain you need to be keeping track of, right? And I love that because when you're going through the sequence and you're knocking everything out, you're like, boom, check mark 1, check mark 2, check mark 3, and you're communicating with people and you're just knocking things out. I would love that. I love kind of going through that, and you know, doing things that are super difficult but like getting the payoff at the end. But anyway, so I would get up to the final room of this encounter, of this dungeon, and I would get to the boss, right? Now, I've invested a lot of time and effort to get up here. Like, I literally thought about it in my brain, and I was like, I'm really about to go through all of this and try to beat this thing. Like, think of it, a lot of you guys have played those old school video games where you don't have checkpoints, right? You just play the whole thing, and if you die, you got to start the level over. Well, this is like times in infinity, right? So I would get all the way up to the end, and my nerves would hit me. My nerves would hit me. Like, I would get super nervous. You know, my hands were literally shaking because I was so close to the thing that I wanted, so close to the thing that I had set out to do, you know, for weeks, over a little over a month, whatever. And that was right in front of me. It was right in front of me, and I kept thinking to myself, like, I'm feeling all these emotions, but it's right in front of me. The thing that I want is right in front of me. And there was many times, I would say 5 or 6 times, where I would get all the way up to the end, and I would die due to, you know, my nerves. Instead of, like I described to you guys, my brain going through the sequence of events and kind of keeping tabs on like 6 different things, right? You know, I have this internal timer in my head, and I'm paying attention to what's going on. And when the nerves creep in, I would forget 2 of those 6 things, or one of those 6 things. Oftentimes it was one small thing, or it was a technical mistake. I remember one day I literally said, you know what, I'm just going to get off and go back to work because I cannot, like, my fingers are literally not mechanically calm enough right now for me to stop screwing things up. Like, for example, I have an ability that could either kill something or heal me, right? And if I don't hold that key down long enough, I will release the energy that I'm charging, and it could kill me. I was so nervous that I would just lift it up a half second too early, a millisecond too early, and kill myself. It was like literally just little things like that, and I just had to walk away from it. And then I ended up setting aside for myself. You know, I said I'm gonna give it 2 tries. Okay, 2 tries of you know, if I get past the first couple encounters, I make it to the end, I'm gonna give myself 2 tries, and if I don't get it today, I'm just gonna quit. I'm gonna work on it, do something else, and I'll try again tomorrow. And the more that I did this, my nerves started to get less and less. And then one day, I remember I made it to the end, and I died, and I was super sad about it. But my check, I mean, normally you have a checkpoint, at the end, but the whole purpose of getting this achievement is to do it without dying, so it doesn't count, right? And I said, you know what, I'm just going to stay here and practice. I'm just going to stay here and practice. And when I did the encounter practicing, so like we relate this to training, I did it no problem. There was no nerves. I was just, you reach like a state of flow and you're just kind of going through your sequences and you knock things out and it's all good. It's literally it was not a problem for me at all. So then I isolate the variable and say, what is bothering me? My nerves. So I am forced now in this instance, and believe me, this is causing me like a good amount of anxiety because I don't like wasting time on things, right? I don't like committing to anything that doesn't sort of further me in life, which is ironic because I play video games, which is weird because if I spent 1 or 2 hours attempting this, I really wanted to get back to work. I would want to check my emails. I would want to answer my messenger, answer my lifters, program. You know what I mean? It was like very motivating to get back to work, which is why I use gaming as sort of a tool to do that. I don't know if that happens to anybody else, but just for me, if I spend time away from something that I do for a profession, the time that I spend doing something else, I think because the emotions were so high, I want to go back to my work, right? So that's sort of a weird side note about me, which is this whole fucking entire video. But anyway, when I did it in practice, I realized without the nerves, it was no problem. And then I even was on Reddit at nighttime. I was looking on Reddit, and there were other people. Like, what I love about this community is usually older people that are very intelligent, like college dudes and things, people with families and stuff like that. And they were very articulate in expressing what they were going through and things like that. And I was like, this is very relatable to me. I feel better about this. When I would see big streamers attempt this, massive streamers, they make infinity money, and they were attempting this and they couldn't do it, I started to feel a little bit better. How do we relate this to powerlifting? Powerlifters, okay, so one of the great things about being a part of a team, Flex Training Systems, for example, is that you are going through these experiences, you're going through those nerves, you're going through the ups and downs with other people, which helps so much. I mean, in anything in life, if you go through tough experiences with other people, you start to build camaraderie. You guys saw that in the last podcast with Isaac and Jesus. And that is such a powerful thing, when even my top lifters, if they're like, dang, man, I'm not feeling it today, but look at all the flex squad, everybody's killing it. You know what, man, I got to get to the gym and I got to knock this out. You know what I mean? So the fact that I was able to, even though I didn't know these people and I didn't talk to these people, the fact that I was able to communicate with them or just read what they were saying, and it made me feel a lot better about what I was going through. And I think it was on the second or third day where I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 tries today, and I learned that you could pause. You can't actually pause the game, but you have like certain areas of the encounter, because there's no time limit, where you could just chill. You could just wait. Like the next phase of what you're doing will not begin if you just like wait in a certain area. And although my nerves were starting to die down, they were still very prominent. My nerves were very much there. And I said to myself, I am going to get to this room. When I get to this encounter, this final encounter, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to wait 10 minutes. I'm going to think about something else. I'm going to just look at something else and just try to take my mind out of what I'm doing. Get up, stretch, go to the bathroom, take the dog out quickly, have a snack, whatever, to help me with these nerves, right? Now, I understand in the context of powerlifting, if you're in the gym, yes, you can do this, but you can't really do that in a meet, right? You're on a time limit. You have to lift the weight when it's your time to lift. But what you can do is look at your phone. You can listen to music. You could watch a video. You could do anything between attempts, especially if you have a good handler, so that you kind of take your brain off of it, right? Some people want to do that. Some people want to stay focused on what they're doing. So what I would do, so the final attempt that I did where I was actually successful, I remember any chance that I could, I would take a break. If it takes me 3 cycles of this encounter to finish it completely, you're doing damage to the boss, and 3 times it'll take me 3 rounds given the amount of damage I'm doing to kill him. And there's a small area in between where you can take a break. I would literally just wait like 5 minutes, and I would talk to myself, and I would be feeling these emotions. My heart rate, I kid you not, it was like up to like 125, 130. I kid you not. I was like, I'm so close. I'm right here. I just need to execute, take my time, understand my timings, remember what's going to happen, and I got this, right? Granted, I'm doing a 3-man activity by myself. Okay, so it's very difficult. Usually you have other people to help you. Your brain has to become 3 brains, basically. And I remember when I got to the final encounter and I got to the last part, I just took it slow. I said, I'm going to remember my cues, right? Remember my cues, remember my timings. There's a flow to certain things. There's a like certain things are going to happen which will dictate the next thing that's going to happen. Checkpoint, one at a time, one at a time. When you're squatting, you put your hands on the bar. You adjust them how you want. You maybe you take a big breath before, or maybe you don't. Whatever. Everybody's different. You go under the bar, then you sort of adjust yourself. Boom, the bar's tight on your back. You start to apply a little bit of this is speaking to my experience. If you guys saw my last squat video, where I kind of like break my squat cues down, I go over all this. But basically, there's a cadence to things and there's a way that you do it. You remember all your cues, and I do this every single time I squat, and I never deviate from it because I've been doing it for years, and it's literally a part of me now, right? I'm never going to mess it up. Because I've gotten rid of the nerves. I've squatted thousands of times. I've competed infinity times. You know what I'm saying? Like I got those nerves out, and I think literally the best way to get rid of nerves is to just go through it. But some things that you can do to kind of go through it faster are being well prepared, going through practice, right? I'm doing this encounter. I'm taking my time. I found what works for me. A lot of people were giving me advice or just putting advice out on the internet saying that you should get ahead of the boss and kill the things that are going to spawn to kill you first and then do damage to him. But that wasn't working for me because I felt like I was too many things for me to manage, and I needed to stay in front of him and just sort of stay in cover and just play it slow. And that's what worked for me. That's what I inevitably did to get the job done. And when I finally got this done, it was so rewarding. It was literally one of the most rewarding things I had ever done in a game. And I don't remember the last time I felt those nerves. The great thing about feeling those nerves is that it brought me back to a point I start to think about when I was a beginner lifter and I was super nervous, and I would really want to, I was just so anxious to be strong right now and prove myself against the best, and all these different things. And it as a coach, I was very thankful to feel those nerves in the experience, in the video game I was playing, because I could relate it to my younger lifters. I don't typically take super ridiculously young lifters. I mean, I do, but I don't. It just depends on the timing of it. But if they're like super beginner, and these emotions are insanely high to the point where like they probably don't even need me. It's rare that I take them, but I have been taking a lot of them recently. I think it's good to have a good diverse group of people, because I want lifters of all levels, because it's just gonna make me that much better, better of a coach. I mean, this is all review for me. I'm literally just reinforcing habits I built over years. But I was very thankful I was able to do something aside from powerlifting that made me feel like a beginner. It made me feel like a noob. It made me feel like probably how my new lifters feel when they come to flex and they don't know anything, right? They literally just don't know anything. But like, my brain is literally set up to coach. Like my brain is like problem solving. If I want something done, I'm going to learn everything about it, and then based on learning everything about it, I can then teach it, right? So, that's why I was thankful for that experience, because I started thinking about one of my newer lifters. Shout out to Brian Buchanan, I think is his name. I don't know if he's going to hear this, but if you guys know him, shout him out. Let him know that I mentioned him. He's very new. He just kind of got into lifting. I think he's 18. And, I typically send super new lifters to Mikey or Will, but like I said, I've been taking some lately. I've been posting them a lot. You guys have seen on my social media. And, he's very, very nervous, and I tried to explain to him. I want to explain to him the big picture, explain to him, everything that's going on in his mind, and, okay, you want to do really good at this meet. Like, he had a USPA meet coming up, and I'm like, okay, you're just doing this USPA meet for fun. We have Corona here. We should just be going to gain some media experience, because you told me that inevitably you want to go to USAPL and you want to compete there, and da-da-da-da-da. So, take this as a learning experience. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And he did great. He only missed one or two lifts, I think, at his first meet ever, so I was very happy with that. I mean, you only get one first meet. You know what I mean? So, it made me just sort of relate to his situation about him getting nervous, him, like I said, wanting to hit all these big weights and things like that. And when I would give him his attempts for meet day, he'd be like, "Well, what do you think about me hitting this?" And I'm like, "I'm just gonna be honest with you, man. I don't think it's there." And I try to take the pressure off of him and just give him the plan and be like, "Yo, just hit these numbers, and everything will fall into place." And then we'll kind of learn together about what you're capable of, and then we'll learn better for the next time, right? That's why it's better to have longevity with it's better to have longevity with the coach because you can learn them better over time. You can learn the lifter better over time. And then, like I said, if communication is good and you are open about things, your success is pretty much guaranteed if you have a competent coach. But anyway, so the tangible takeaway from all of this, okay, what can I give to you guys listening right now that's going to help you be a better lifter? Is to take your time, breathe, practice, remember your cues. Remember, a lot of this pressure, like, okay, let's be honest, I was just playing the game, right? I'm not, no one's gonna die if I mess up. It's not about like a job interview. It's not gonna change my life. It is extremely rewarding, and it is super fun when I join a lobby with like 6 other people and they see my banner and they're like, "Oh shit, dude, you freaking bled for that. You freaking sweat for that." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I did. Thank you. It means a lot that you recognize that." You know what I'm saying? So that's a cool thing about it. But really, it's just like I'm just playing a game. It's just a mental exercise, something that I use to sort of, I like to consider myself someone that's very in control of their feelings and thoughts. But this experience reminded me that I'm not Yoda yet. I don't get angry. I'm not gonna lose my cool. I know there's too much at stake and things like that. But there's still always growth. There's still growth to be had. There's still things that I can do to sort of just become better, just be better at what I'm doing, reach a point where literally nothing bothers me. Maybe it's good to have emotion. I don't know. In a positive way, yes, I don't try to suppress my happy feelings and things like that, but just take your time, breathe, remember your cues, and eventually, if you just experience that thing that makes you nervous enough while you're cerebral about it and you're reinforcing those good habits, eventually you will get it, and you will get it a lot sooner, right? Every time that you fail, it is a mental exercise. It is practice. It is gaining information. It is learning things about yourself to be better the next time. And that's one of the great things about just fucking living and being a human, is that when you go through something and you fail at it, you can look at what you did, pinpoint the parts that you could improve, and then apply those things and then succeed. It literally applies to all aspects of life, and you're going to feel so much better as a person when you actually get to that point. Holy crap, this is the longest video I've done in a long time. Damn. If you guys made it this far, first off, I really fucking appreciate you. You guys, like, literally, that just shows to me that you are a super real one. Let me get a hashtag breathe. Hashtag breathe in the comments below. Yeah, I hope you guys are able to take something away from that. Nerves are scary. They can be involuntary, but we can overcome them with enough mental just training and repetition, and just experiencing that thing that makes you stressed. You can overcome it 100%. That being said, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hashtag breathe in the comments below. We did a restock on Flex Gear, and follow me on Twitch, all that good stuff. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.